Hello everybody, welcome to this snapshot video. So today I want to talk about yesterday's snapshot, 19W12B, where the iron golem spawn rates got raised, and also another change that wasn't mentioned in the patch notes, but is quite interesting. So let's talk about the iron farms first. What changed in the snapshot was that villagers now require 5 gossip instead of 10. And it basically just means the farm is about twice as fast, so they don't need to share less gossip. What also changed is a new mechanic. Villagers that are recently hurt by zombies have a higher chance of spawning iron golem. That means a villager only needs to spread 1 gossip instead of 5. But it's kind of tricky to really use the mechanic, because you need to worry about healing the villagers again when they get hurt by zombies. And also, while they're getting attacked by zombies or running away, they can't do other AI tasks, or they can't spread gossip in that time. Also, they would spread the gossip that they got hurt, so they had a chance that they would now spread golem gossip is slower. We're not really sure if the zombie mechanic actually helps. It's maybe mostly intended for normal gameplay. When a zombie actually attacks a village or villagers, that there's a higher chance maybe to spawn a golem, which I'm also not quite sure would actually happen. So currently there are a lot of ideas how we could improve iron farms, but in order to at least do some baseline testing, we made this really basic iron farm, 24 villagers, 24 workplaces, bell in the middle, so they have a gathering point, and beds on the outside. The workplaces are all centered, so they can also share gossip while they're working. And with this setup here, for 24 villagers, we're getting about 90 iron per hour, which is actually quite decent. So this is kind of comparable to the old single cell iron farms, where we got about 40 iron with 10 villagers. So you could probably build multiple of those 24 villager clusters. Let's say if you build 10 of those, you could get up to 900 iron per hour, which is quite decent. Problem, of course, is if you have so many villagers, the game definitely would start to lag at some point. So on our server, we could definitely run it with maybe 240, maybe 360 villagers, but that's probably it. So around 900 to 1300 iron per hour might be possible right now with this mechanic, or maybe we could even come up with a more, or better farms later. So that doesn't look so bad. I think actually the reward to effort ratio is quite good, because let's be honest, setting this up in case villager breeding works again is actually not a lot of work. So this is just a command block setup right now. If a golem spawns, we kill it with command blocks. Still need to figure out some little details about the farm. For example, how to get the golems that spawn in the middle out of there. Probably can just place some blocks to suffocate them and have hop up a minecart below picking up the items. So this is not a working farm right now, it's just a test setup. In my personal opinion, the rates for simple farm like this one here definitely feel right at the moment. The effort reward ratio is really comparable to the old single cell iron farms. And there we got the first golem, since the villagers all got up at the same time, started sharing gossip. But what's still kind of lacking is, or we're missing right now, would be an interesting mechanic like the village stacking we had before, that would also enable you to just build whatever you want, large storage systems, sorting systems, furnace array, whatever that required a lot of iron, or even just being able to build with iron blocks. So at the moment there is nothing in the game that would replace that. Nothing has been found, and that's really lacking. Also, the old village stacking mechanics were quite interesting to play with, and I don't think boosting the rates of simple farms like this one here would now be the solution for that problem, because it just feels kind of cheaty if you need to build up something like this. It just consists out of a few blocks, beds, and workstation and villagers. It would be way too cheaty if this would produce a ton of iron. So I really hope that at some point we get a replacement for the village stacking iron farms. Not quite sure if it needs to be villager based, or if maybe a completely new idea could be a replacement for this. For example, it could be something mining based. On Twitter, I already suggested maybe iron ore veins in between endstone, larger ones, or just normal stone, having a low drop chance for iron nuggets, or just a completely new iron based mob. For example, in the drowned mobs, instead of dropping gold, would drop iron. So there's a lot of ideas how we could maybe implement a more sophisticated way to get iron that isn't based on this gossip system that is actually not too much fun to play with. So now let's also talk about the other change that might be a bug. Definitely wasn't mentioned in the patch notes that it's supposed to do that now. Glass now no longer prevents mob spawning. So if I turn mob spawning to true, we immediately can see there's mob spawning below the little iron farm, bed spawning, slime spawning. So glass is no longer spawn-proof. I think the change was done because for a while in the snapshots, glass was able to suffocate entities. This was partially fixed. Now moving glass is still able to suffocate entities, but at least normal glass doesn't. What I can also do now is place redstone dust, comparators, repeaters on top of glass. Previously you could only place torches on top of glass. But this change not only affects glass, also other similar blocks. For example, you can place redstone dust on leaves now. And yeah, it works similar to a slab now. So you could also make those redstone dust towers just using leaves now. There are even more interesting blocks, so now I can also place repeaters or redstone dust on top of TNT. Then another example would be glowstone. Previously it was only possible that you place redstone dust on top of it. Now I can also place comparators, repeaters on top. Sea lanterns now work. Scaffolding is another one. Also a really interesting one is of course trapdoors. At least the top trapdoors. You can also place redstone on top of it. And yeah, even power the components. It's actually functional. Can even open the, the trapdoor, so you can see how the comparator looks like from below. This is probably not intended, but it's definitely interesting that it works right now. Here are some more blocks that are affected. You now can place redstone dust on normal ice, on a beacon, or on scaffolding. So essentially every block with a solid top surface. And it's also an interesting one, shulker boxes conduct power. And you can even open the shulker box in case it's not blocked while there's a redstone dust on top. Also opens to the side, but you can't open it if you would have put a comparator on top, then you can no longer open the shulker box. But it does work with redstone dust. We even found more interesting blocks. You're now able to place redstone dust on top of chorus flowers, and you're even able to put repeaters or comparators on top of it, or redstone torches. We also checked you can't power a chorus flower. Then we got another really interesting one, the cauldron. So obviously, kinda, you can't put redstone dust on top of the cauldron, but you can put a repeater or comparator on top of it, since it could sit on the sides. So I actually really like this one. This definitely kinda makes sense. I also tried around a little bit with the other redstone components, and it's getting really interesting. So there are special rules for all the blocks. Seems like the sea lantern kind of works similar to the trapdoor. So you can't put buttons and levers on top or the side, but you can put pressure plates on top. You can even do that with the trapdoor. It's probably interesting for the builders, could I imagine. But of course, if you try to step on it, then it pops immediately. Also check out the shulker box. So here you can also only put pressure plate on. For example, the hopper is different. You're able to put redstone dust and repeaters on it, but you're not able to put a pressure plate on it, nor a button or lever. If you take a look at the chorus flower, you can put levers, buttons, and pressure plates on it. Maybe the next one is the cauldron. The pressure plate would fit on it, but you can't place it on it. Composter also works similar to the cauldron, so no buttons, no levers, no pressure plates, no redstone dust, only repeaters work. Then leaves, you can put pressure plate on it, but no buttons and levers. TNT on the other hand, you can put a button on it now. Also pressure plate of course. So on one hand it's obviously awesome that you can now place redstone for example on a sea lantern, because why wouldn't you be able to do that? But on the other hand, it's kind of a shame because a lot of people rely on certain blocks being spawn-proof, especially older worlds where you place down glass, for example, or make certain areas spawn-proof, would be majorly affected by this change.